Fernando Alonso is a dinosaur. What I mean is that he's old but he's still fast as hell. Fernando Alonso recently became the driver with the most ever Grand Prix entered, and that got me thinking about all the records that he's broken and more importantly, all the drivers who have come and gone in Formula 1. So hello and welcome to Fervent Motorsports, and today I'm going to tell you about the drivers that have come since Fernando Alonso has joined Formula 1. Now the statement might be a bit confusing. What I mean is that since his debut, how many drivers have come and gone in Formula 1? Just a friendly reminder that all of the numbers mentioned in this video are taken when this video was made. So in 10 more years when Fernando Alonso is possibly battling aliens in a Formula 1 car, these statistics might be relevant. But we start with his start. Alonso started his Formula 1 career in 2001. Since his debut, it's been 21 years and 8 months. To put that into perspective, Fernando Alonso's racing career is older than Oscar Piastri's life. Piastri was born in April 2001 and Fernando Alonso started Formula 1 racing in March 2001. Alpine don't really care about that though. Piastri will be replacing Fernando next season at Alpine. So yes, Fernando Alonso is the most experienced driver on the track. He's driven for a lot of teams like Ferrari, Renault and even McLaren. He has 2 world championships which he got when he beat the great Michael Schumacher. But how many drivers have made their debut since the Spaniard entered Formula 1? Well, the answer is 88 drivers. If you subtract the 19 drivers on the grid currently, you get 69 drivers. In 21 years and 354 races, there have been 69 drivers who have come and gone, while the Spanish wizard continues to lay down rubber on the track. So who are these drivers? Well, let's go chronologically since that will make more sense and it will be easier for everyone to understand. Now we start in 2002. The drivers who made their debut in 2002 are Alan McNeish, Takuma Sato, Mark Webber, Felipe Massa, Anthony Davidson. Anthony Davidson is a Sky Sports pundit. Felipe Massa thought he won the world championship in his home race, but Hamilton robbed it from him in the end, just like Verstappen did to Hamilton in 2021. And well, Mark Webber is an Australian driver who hated Sebastian Vettel. We move on to 2003. The drivers who made their debut this year were Ralph Furman, Nicolas Chiesa, Justin Wilson, Zolt Baumgartner, Cristiano Di Mata, Antonio Pizzonia. The drivers who made their debut in 2004, Jean-Marie Bruni, Giorgio Pantano, Christian Klein and Timo Glock. Well, if you remember the Massa victory I just spoke about, Timo Glock was in the car who lost power at the end. Hamilton was behind him and then gained a position when Glock retired, and this made Hamilton the world champion in 2008. Now moving on to the drivers in 2005. In 2005, we have Patrick Fierscher, Robert Donbos, Thiago Montero, Christian Albers with Antonio Luizzi, Narayan Karthikeyan. Narayan Karthikeyan is the first ever Formula 1 driver from India. He drove for HRT and it was a short career, but it was still an achievement. In 2006, the drivers who made their debut were Yuji Ide, Frank Montagny, Scott Speed, Sakon Yamamoto, Robert Kubica and Nico Rosberg. Nico Rosberg is the son of the Formula 1 world champion Keke Rosberg. Rosberg fought tooth and nail against Lewis Hamilton in equal machinery and he won the 2016 world champion. He retired immediately after defeating Hamilton. In 2007, we had some interesting drivers making their Formula 1 debut. You had Marcus Winkelhock, Kazuki Nakajima, Adrian Sutil, Heikki Kovalainen, Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel. Lewis Hamilton went on to equal Michael Schumacher's record of 7 world championships. He also went on to smash every record there was in Formula 1. Vettel didn't do too bad either. He won the World Drivers' Championship 4 times in a row with Red Bull. In 2008, we have 2 more drivers who joined the grid. You have Sebastian Bourdais and Nelson Piquet Jr. Interestingly, Nelson Piquet Jr. was the son of Nelson Piquet Sr. Sr. was a 3-time world champion, however, Jr. could never match his father's record. Instead, he was guilty of deliberately crashing his car in order to give Alonso the victory at the inaugural Singapore Grand Prix. In 2009, the drivers who made their Formula 1 debut were Jamie Alguersuari, Sebastian Buemi, Kamui Kobayashi, Romain Grosjean. Romain Grosjean was the victim of the 2020 Bahrain Grand Prix. His car slammed into the guardrail and erupted into flames. Luckily, Grosjean escaped from his car with only slight burn injuries. He's lucky to be alive thanks to the modern safety features in a Formula 1 car. We then move on to 2010. You had Lucas Di Grassi, Karun Chandhok, Kvyatly Petrov, Bruno Senna and Nico Hülkenberg. Hülkenberg is still driving in Formula 1 today. He's raced for Aston Martin this season when Sebastian Vettel was down with COVID. He currently has no seat for next year, but rumor has it that Haas might give him a car if they get rid of Mick Schumacher. In 2011, we also had some banger drivers joining the grid. You had Jerome D'Ambrosio, Paul Di Resta, Pastor Maldonado, Sergio Perez and Daniel Ricciardo. Sergio Perez is still in Formula 1 next year, but the same can't be said about Daniel Ricciardo. Although the driver in this list worth mentioning is, of course, Pastor Maldonado because he just loved crashing. He was like Mazepin before Mazepin was cool. But Pastor Maldonado has something that even Lando Norris and George Russell don't have: a race victory in Formula 1. He won in 2012 with a Williams car. Legendary stuff, and although after his race, the Williams garage caught fire, which sort of balanced out things. Now we move on to the year that the world was supposed to end, 2012. In 2012, you had Charles Pic and John-Eric Verne. Moving on to 2013, you have Giorgio van de Garde, Jules Bianchi, Max Chilton, Esteban Gutierrez, and Valtteri Bottas. Jules Bianchi was a talented Ferrari Academy driver. There was no doubt amongst anyone that he would be a leading Formula 1 driver at some point in time. However, his story was cut short in Japan, and under wet weather conditions, Bianchi crashed into a tractor that was recovering another car on track. He will always be remembered by Formula 1. We then go on to 2014. We had Andrik Lothair, Will Stevens, Daniel Kvyat, Marcus Ericsson, and Kevin Magnussen. Kevin Magnussen left the sport and came back this year when Nikita Mazepin was fired from Haas. But let me tell you about Daniel Kvyat. He loved to crash so much that Sebastian Vettel gave him the nickname of the Torpedo. 2015 is when we start to see some more familiar faces. You had Robert Mern, Alexander Rossi, Felipe Nasr, Carlos Sainz Jr. and of course Super Max Verstappen. Sainz and Verstappen both came up from the Red Bull Academy and now they're racing against each other for the World Championship. Max has 2 World Championships and Sainz has none, but then again Sainz is racing for Ferrari. In 2016, we have Rio Haryanto, Julian Palmer, Pascal Wehrlein, Stoffel Van Dorn, and Esteban Ocon. In 2017, we had Brandon Hartley, Pierre Gasly, Lance Stroll, Antonio Giovinazzi. In 2018, we had Sergei Sorkin and Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc is fighting with Ferrari for the World Championships, although some might argue that he is actually fighting with Ferrari. And we're almost at the end of this list. In 2019, we had the Twitch Quartet. We had Alexander Albon, Lando Norris, and George Russell, who all made their debuts. During the pandemic in 2020, we had some more entries. You had Jack Aitken, Pietro Fittipaldi, and Nicholas Latifi. Latifi is the only one left in Formula 1 from these 3, however, that will change next year. In 2021, we had Nikita Mazepin, Mick Schumacher, and Yuki Tsunoda. Haas really gambled by putting 2 new rookies in the Formula 1 car for a season. One was the son of the greatest Formula 1 racer, and the other one was the son of a man who was friends with Putin who wanted to destroy Ukraine. But were you really expecting anything different from Haas? And yes, we have reached the present year. We are in 2022 and we have just 2 drivers who made their debut. You have Zhou Guanyu and of course Nick De Vries. Both of these guys are going to be on the grid next year as well. So there you have it. Since 2001, there have been 88 drivers who joined Formula 1. Fernando Alonso has outlasted a good 69 of them this season, and the number could increase next season when Sebastian Vettel, Ricciardo, and maybe even Mick Schumacher might leave Formula 1. So thank you for watching this video by us here at Fervent Motorsports. In case you do like it, remember to subscribe to our channel, and as always, stay tuned for the best of motorsports news.